Good morning, everyone, or afternoon or evening, as the case may be. I'm Jennifer Schottke. Welcome to this Esri Fire Team webinar. Before we get started, a couple of logistics. Everyone is on mute. We would welcome questions throughout the webcast. I would ask you to submit your questions through the chat window or the question window, and we will respond as we can as we go along, and the unanswered questions we'll handle at the end. So this is the team that will be presenting today. I'm here with three of my colleagues on the Esri Fire team. As I say, I'm Jennifer Schottke, and my colleague John Petter is in our technical staff. He's one of our solutions engineers. Walter Potts will be showing some of our tools, and he is in our local government solutions group. And Jen Huey is fire specialist in our public safety professional services group. So we will be showing you some of the great new capabilities available through Esri for online mapping in the cloud. So let's get started. Some of you are very familiar with GIS as a technology platform for the fire service, and for others, this is quite a new concept. So I like to start with this slide, which will be very familiar to those of you who know GIS, just to point out that the tools that you're going to be seeing today are part of the Esri platform suite. And all of our technologies are GIS-based, which means that they are layer-centric, and geography is key to each of the layers in those maps that you're going to see. This is a profoundly important technology for the fire service. It's a way that you can transform the data throughout your organization into intelligence, make it accessible regardless of what kind of data it is, taking data from your spreadsheets, from existing maps, from external services, or from other parts of your organization. And all of this data can be integrated through these layers in your maps and analyzed because they understand geography. Esri supports the fire service. We all know that it's a very complex mission. It requires planning, activities to prevent emergencies from happening, community risk reduction, and then operational capabilities, getting the resources out to an incident once it does occur. We have tools for being able to communicate with the public before, during, and after these incidents. And all of these data sources coming from your own organization, from the cloud, or from other agencies within your city, county, municipality, can share data through this construct. At Esri, we've been working with fire departments for many years. There are thousands of fire departments using GIS in many ways, and we see more and more all the time. We're going to be focusing on two specific workflows to help introduce those of you who are new to ArcGIS Online to some specific, particularly important workflows, and to demonstrate how that works. But these same kinds of concepts and technologies can be applied to these many, many different workflows that you're seeing here, and examples of customers that have been doing this successfully for many years. We're excited about what we see as the technology evolves. So we think of ArcGIS as a platform technology. It enables web GIS everywhere. It's simple, it's integrated, and it's open. The platform establishes a capability. You're able to collect data, publish data, and use data throughout your organization, on the desktop, through the web, and through any device. This platform supports specific workflows, such as we're going to be showing you today, and it supports many people throughout the organization. It makes the mapping that you do available not only to you, but to your coworkers, to decision makers, to field personnel throughout the organization. Increasingly, we hear and see messages and understand that good spatial data is critically important to fire service workflows across the mission. It increases in organizational intelligence. It helps us make better decisions. It helps us collect more accurate data, visualize this, And importantly, it helps us work together as a team, working off of the same sheet of music for better decision making. So with that introduction to the platform and to ArcGIS as a capability, I'd like to pass you over to one of our technical specialists, John Petter, to actually show you how these tools can be applied in your organization. John, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Jennifer. I'm John Petter. I'm going to walk you through a simple but yet very powerful workflow highlighting ArcGIS Online and one of our mobile applications called the Collector app. What I'm going to be showing today is taking a feature class from desktop, publishing that as a feature service, and that's going to be published up to our ArcGIS Online cloud solution. Once we have the service published to the cloud, we can then access it with a web browser and build ourselves web maps using either single layers or multiple layers. Once that's done, we'll then use that map in our Collector app and start actually collecting some point data. And then that lastly can then be published in an application form and either used by personnel or executives. So with that, I'll actually show you what we're doing today is ArcMap here. And in ArcMap, I've built a simple feature class. And here's the fields inside the feature class. And this is to do a home inspection. So this will be smoke detectors. And it's an example of being able to go out into the field with the Collector app, collect information that's valuable, and have it real-time populate back to your organization and actually be useful. So I have some simple fields in here, smoke detectors working, how many there are, carbon monoxide detectors, etc. I also built some domains. These will provide drop-down lists in our application so that we have accurate data collection. Makes it easier for the field workers. So we just have one with numbers, different dwelling types, showing single-family apartment, etc. So what I've done here is I've logged in to my ArcGIS Online organizational account. I've also got changed the symbology on my layer so that I have inspected and not inspected, just as green and red. The next thing to do is to share this with ArcGIS Online, and it couldn't be much easier. File, Share As, and Service. This is going to publish this as a feature service from a feature class. So we're going into My Hosted Services, which is my ArcGIS Online account. This will give us some options to publish the service as. We've got some different capabilities, and we are going to make this a feature service and rather than a tiled map. And then how are we going to access it? So we're going to allow people to create new features, delete features, and then these allow it to be synced back to desktop so that you can use the data in other ways. We do an item description, and we tag it so that we can find it easily once it's in our org. And then we can share it from here. I could share it with my home inspections group, or I don't need to share it at this time. I can do that once we actually publish it. I'm not going to publish right now, but all you would need to do is click the publish button, and that would push it up to ArcGIS Online. So once you've published the service, I would go to my ArcGIS Online organizational account, and this is our Fire and Emergency Services account. Again, I'm logged in with the same account. So the same account that I logged in for desktop, I'm now logged into my organizational account. I go to My Contents. I'll see that this is the feature service that I just pushed up from desktop. Let's take a look at some of the details of this. Viewing item details, it brings the description and everything that I put in from my desktop. But importantly, here's my layer information. So here's, I could actually, if once it's full of data, if I wish to export by CSV or shapefile, I have the capability of doing that. I can see the actual REST endpoint service URL, and another nice feature I can do is enable attachments, which we'll do. So now I have attachments enabled on that feature service. Other things we can do in here is if I edit, you can add more information about the layer, but what I want to show at the bottom here is that we can keep track of who edited and created features, and we'll do that. Another option is we can allow only the people that created the features to be able to delete the features or update the features that they added. And one that I really like to use is prevent this item from being deleted. It's just a good safeguard to make sure that you don't delete something that's valuable. And we'll save this. Once it's saved, we can add this to a new web map. So this is a feature class, gone to a feature service, and now we're going to add the feature service to the web map. So it comes up with our layer on the left-hand side, and you can see it brought the symbology that we had back in the desktop product. We can now make some adjustments to this. We can go in and we can make adjustments to the pop-up and see what the pop-up contains. If we look by default, the pop-up has got some information in here, but it's not that useful or friendly at this time. If we go ahead and change the pop-up, we can configure the attributes in here. It gives us the ability to actually rename the field alias, and also I can put a hint in here. So this will enable the person doing the field collections to get an idea of what we're thinking. Also, because I checked the option to track the editor and the creators, it's added 4 fields automatically to the bottom of the feature service. And I will display these for our purposes. So this enables the creator, the create date, and the editor and the edit date to be shown. On the edit date, I can choose the simple date format by the day, or I can change the format here and show date and time, which I both think is a useful thing to have shown. So we'll create that. We can change the order. So if I would like address up further in our pop-up list, I can move that up and change the order of the fields. And also we have a notes field. By default, it's a single line. I find it much more useful that we can change this to rich text for notes. It gives the ability for underlining, bolding, and even the ability to add web hyperlinks in there. We'll click OK and save our pop-up. Now if we look at our pop-up and edit this particular symbol, what you'll see in here is the rich text notes field. We have our status, which is a drop-down from the domain that we published earlier. And these are the other domains that we have which were attached to the fields. So this makes it easy to add this information to the map. Something else to do for field collectors is to add bookmarks. So I'm in Redlands today. I can zoom in on the campus where I'm sitting, and I can add a bookmark in here. And that bookmark, when saved to the web map, will now be accessible throughout the platform. So whether it's on my collector app or whether it's in a web map, I can now easily zoom in to my point of interest just by using my bookmark. To show you how to add points, we can add points in the map. So if we were to do some points, I'm zooming in, by the way, using the wheel on my mouse. You can also use the plus button and pan around. So if I was to have known that I did some inspections on these particular buildings over here, I can click Edit, Inspected, and click a point on the map. And I can fill in the information about this particular type, what the dwelling was, whether they granted me access to the building, how many smoke detectors were working, etc. Then I can close that, and that's saved. So that's an example of doing this editing actually in the web map itself. Next, we're actually just going to save this. So I'm going to use my bookmark to reposition back, and we'll save this as a web map. We'll call this Home Inspections, and we'll use the same for this tag. So now I have a web map, which is ready to go with a home inspections layer inside this. Next, what we'll do is we'll sign into our collector app and actually see if we can do a collection from my iPad that I have sitting next to me. I'll bring my iPad screen over. If I go ahead and log in with my iPad to the same organizational account, you'll see this is the map that we've just created. I can now open this on my iPad, and you'll note that you can see the 2 points that we have on the map. And this is the one we just entered a moment ago. And I can see the information about that single family that I just inspected on the web map. Next, what I can do is I can add a new location. So let's add a new point, and this is going to use my location right now on the web app, this is where I'm sitting in the campus. I'm going to create that I'm inspecting a house right now. I can change the dwelling type. We're in an apartment, and I can fill in this other information that's here where they granted me access. And do they leave a door hanger, etc. And then I can submit this directly into the map. So that's my iPad right there. And if I come back to the web map and refresh the web map, you'll see I have a new point on the map right here. So this is real-time data collection that I just collected from my iPad, which pushed that up to the ArcGIS cloud and to this web map, and is now part of that feature layer. So we can look at the actual data inside here by showing the table. So this is the data that we just inputted, and this is the one that I just did for my iPad right here. And there's the single family that we added through a web map. So this workflow is a fairly straightforward workflow to produce, but can be used for many, many different applications. For instance, you could use this for fire hydrant inspection. I have used it recently for collecting information on remote rural cabins where they were unmapped, and we needed to know where the cabin location was and what fire hazards there were, such as propane tanks, etc. So once this is done, you've got a web map which we've got somewhat symbolized by inspected and not inspected, and we want to share this information. We might want to share it with our fire captain to show what the progress of what we've done today, and you can do that in the web map, which isn't a bad interface, but we can do a little better and make a cleaner interface. If we share this, and we're going to share it with our home inspections group, it's giving us a warning that the feature service doesn't have the correct permissions to share with that group, so we'll update the sharing. Next, we'll make a web application. So a web application basically wraps the web map into a pre-created wrapper. These are predefined templates that Esri has provided, and there are several available. If you are a developer, you can take the code for these and modify the code. It's all JavaScript, and you can create your own or modify these to fit. We'll just take the basic viewer. We'll publish the basic viewer, and we're going to call this the Home Inspections app. We'll save and publish, and then we'll view the item. This provides a little bit of a cleaner interface. We can configure the app in here. This gives us the ability to turn features on or off that we might not want to provide. For instance, there's an edit feature. If I'm giving this to somebody to review, I probably don't want them to go ahead and start editing the data. So I can remove edits. We're not time enabling it, so we can move that. So as you can see, we can do different things as far as what functionality we give them. And we can save this and be done. And now we have an application which has all been configured without doing one line of code. This is the web hyperlink right here, and now this can be shared with anybody via email, or we can share it here via email right here by Facebook, or we can even tweet it out. But this can be shared within your organization as just a dynamic delivery method for your data. So as people are out collecting more data in their application, uh, this will be live map. So it'll be updated here automatically when people are out collecting data. That's the workflow that I'm going to show you today, and hopefully that's giving you a little bit of a look into the power and ease of publishing in ArcGIS Online. Next, we're going to change over to my colleague Walter Potts, who's going to show you some more information in ArcGIS Online regarding incidents.
Thanks, John. Hello, everyone. What I'd like to show you today is just how you can go from start to finish, taking a regular CSV file just of your incidents and putting it into ArcGIS Online and doing some simple analysis with that. So what you see on the screen here is just a simple map. I have not created, not saved it. It's just opened with nothing in it so far. The next thing I want to show you is I've talked to my dispatch people, and they've given me an incident file in the form of a CSV, and I'll just show you what that looks like. I'll open it up here in Notepad, and you can see what this CSV file looks like. We've got incident numbers, addresses, city, state, zip code, call type, call time, and so on. So there's a number of things in here if you look through it. And notice that they're all separated by a comma, hence the comma-separated file, value file. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this file and we're going to import it into the online map. To do that, we just go into the map, add a layer from a file, and then specify the file that we want to choose. So we're going to open that up and then import the layer. In this case, it's going to look for how are we going to locate the features. So in this case, I'm going to locate them by address. So I'm going to specify that I want this field name to go into the address field. And you can see it already found the city field, the state field, and so on. So we're going to add that layer. So that's going to go out to that CSV file that came from my dispatch system. It was separated by commas. It's a pretty common format that comes out of CAD. And it's going to bring it into ArcGIS Online and throw my features there on the map. So they're pretty simple, all there is to it. You might have noticed that I also had out there is another file. In this case, it's the fire stations. So we're going to go ahead and add that file in as well. Import it and then specify what the address fields are. In this case, for the city field, we're going to use municipality, as that's what it's called, and add that layer back in. And it added it to my map as well. But I can't tell the difference here between which ones are the incidents and which ones are fire stations. So real simple, just going to turn my incident layer off, and we're going to go into the fire stations and change the symbology for it so they'll make it a little easier to see. I'm going to use the single symbol format, and I'm going to change that symbol using one of these styles. You'll notice that there are several different symbol sheets that are available to you, and you select this drop-down list here. I'm going to go into the safety and health symbol set and pick this little fire station. Makes it real easy to see which ones are the fire stations. So there we have it. Now we have our fire stations on the map. But it would be nice for us to know is, of all these incidents that we have, which ones are in a 4-minute drive time. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do this analysis with the fire stations. We're going to do it online in ArcGIS using this perform analysis. You see there are several different options. You may be familiar with some of these. In this case, we're going to use the proximity, and we're going to create a drive time around those particular fire stations. But I'm going to specify it to be a 4-minute drive time to comply with the NFPA. And I'm going to specify that I want to use live traffic, and I'm going to use it on a typical day. In this case, we're going to use Thursday. I want it to overlap. Each of the drive times are overlap. I don't want them to dissolve the boundaries between them because I want to see the difference between them. We'll accept the rest of the defaults and we use the current map extent and run this analysis. What's going on now is it's going to go out to each one of these fire stations and select which ones, what the drive times are from each one of these. So if we select Fire Station 7, for example, it's going out and driving each one of these road networks to find out how long it's going to take, based on the typical traffic for a day like today, to be able to calculate how far we can get for each one of these drive times. I'm going to zoom back out here a little bit. Then I'm just going to turn on the incident layer while that's cooking, so you can see where the incidents are in relationship to our fire stations. So it's done it. It's computed the drive times using 4 minutes from each one of these fire stations. Turn the incident layer back off again, but you can't tell which one's which. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go back into changing our symbols. But this time, instead of using a single symbol, we're going to use a unique symbol. And the field that we're going to use for that is the name of the particular station. So add that to our list and apply it. And now we can see the 4-minute drive times around each one of these stations. When I click on some of them, you can see the outline boundary around them. You can see this is for Fire Station 7. But they overlap, as we mentioned earlier. So we might want to look into it a little bit and see why is there such irregular shaped drive times. In this case here, you can see this fire station. The boundary comes across this river, which is a natural boundary, and goes up this road. So it's going to follow that road network. And if I zoom here a little bit further, you can see some other boundaries that may inhibit the drive time. And one of them is this one right here. This is the railroad line. And so you can see that in this case, the drive time is crossed over the railroad over here, but it's not crossed over, or it has not crossed over here, but it has over here. So if we wanted to, we could look into that further to see how that's created those drive times. But it's follow the road network is the basic thing up to the 4 minutes. So the next thing we'd like to know is, okay, so if we have these 4-minute drive times, how many incidents are in each one of these? So let's go ahead and calculate that. We're going to use this layer, the drive time layer, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go into the perform analysis, but instead of using proximity, we're going to summarize the data. In this case, we're going to use this analysis. We're going to summarize all of the incidents that are within that drive time. Again, we're going to accept the defaults and run that so that it can calculate them. I'm just going to turn the incident layer on while that's processing. So it's going out online. I happen to be located at the moment in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's going off to the online to the hosted service, and it's calculating which one of these incidents that I just brought in from my CSV file on my desktop are in each side of these drive times. And so it's done that. I'm going to turn my incident layer off again. And again, we have them, but we can see that it's used a graduated symbol to calculate the number of incidents which were in each one of these drive times. What we'd like to be able to, again, is to be able to see the differences between them. So we're going to go back into change our symbols. Excuse me. Right here. And this time we're going to hide the background because we really don't care about that. So we're going to go ahead and turn the transparency up all the way. But we want to leave the outline on so we can see the boundaries around it. And we're going to turn off this other one. We don't need to see that one. We don't actually have any that are other. And then we'll say I'm done. And now what we look at, we can see the number of incidents that are being displayed by the graduated symbol of the dot that's inside each one of these drive times. So in this case here, we have a number of drive times. In this case, we have with this drive time, this 4-minute drive time, we have 223 incidents that are inside that drive time. So that kind of gives us a good idea about what we can do with the incidents when we brought them in. But one of the other things that we would like to do is say, well, we understand if we look at this, how many incidents are in each side, inside each one of these drive times. It also tells us what the square miles are. One of the questions the captains asked us is, but how many people are we serving inside each one of these fire station drive times? We'd like to do that, and we can do that with ArcGIS Online. So to do that, we're going to go to the latest file that we've derived from our CSV file originally, which is the summarized incidents, and we're going to go back to our perform analysis. But this time, we're going to use data enrichment. I'm going to enrich the layer, that is the drive time layer, the summary layer, with data that's from, in this case, a country. We're going to go scroll down the list through all the different list of nations that have data that we could use and select the United States. So this is going to give me a list of all the data that's available in the United States that I can use to enrich my data. In this case, the incidents that are inside those drive times. And you can see there's a lot of information that's in here, and it can be used for a lot of different situations. But what I'm interested in at the moment is the population. I'm going to scroll down here towards the bottom, and I'm going to find population information. And in this case, I want to use the top population total. So I'm going to expand on that list here and scroll down, and you can see population totals for 2000, 2010, and so on. If I keep scrolling, see, well, what's the latest and down here? So I can see total population for 2013. That's what I'm interested in. So I'll choose that one, and I'll run my analysis on that. Again, it's going out to the hosted and service. It's calculating the total population within each one of those drive times, so I can get a comparison of how many people are being served within each one of those fire station boundaries. As that process is there, I want to zoom in here a little bit so you can kind of get an idea of what's going on inside this area. we can see here is the downtown area for the city of Naperville is here, but we get further away from it, there is less population. So let us go ahead and symbolize it again. And this time, instead of using a single symbol or a unique symbol, I'm going to choose color. But for the field I'm going to choose, I would like to go down and select this population total field. And I'd like to keep it within my color scheme, so I'm going to scroll down this list a little bit and pick one that looks similar. So it's going to do this, it's going to apply all the light colors for the smaller populations, and the darker the color, the bigger the populations. So now we can get a comparison here. We look at the graduated symbols, we can see the number of incidents in each one of them. And we look at the colors, and we can see for each one of these drive times, we can see how many people are being served inside each one of them. So the next thing we'd like to do is similar to what John did with the home inspections. We'd like to go ahead and configure a pop-up so we can see this information a little more clearly. So for the title, I'm going to delete the information that's in here, and I'm just going to select the name of that fire station from the list. So if I go down to this list here, I can find the original name that came from our CSV file for that fire station. And I'm going to create a list of them, a list of the attributes that I want to have displayed in this pop-up. So I'm going to turn off the facility ID. I've already got the name, the from and to breakpoints we don't care, and some of this other information that was derived from the original CSV file. There's the name again. We want to keep the full address, but we know what municipality or city and state we're in. For the point count, we're going to rechange the field alias to this and call this number of incidents. And for the area analysis, we know that it's square miles, so it's a little easier to be able to communicate that information to those people that might be reading it. The other fields, again, we're going to turn off, so we can just see the information that we really want. I'm going to leave the total population on there, and then save our pop-up. So now we select this, we can kind of get an idea of what information we have available to us here. In this case, we have Fire Station 4 at 1971 Brookdale Road. Again, that information came from our original source data. The rest of the information that you see on this pop-up was derived from that original CSV file that I got from my dispatch system. So I have the total number of incidents that I created, that I calculated from the geography using the address points, 223 in this case. I have the total number of square miles and the population. As I look at the size of these symbols, I'm just going to turn off these pop-ups here so we can see them a little easier. As I look at these symbols, I can see the bigger symbols that are here in the lighter shades where the population is less, and I want to compare that one to this one. In this case here, we have at Fire Station 6, we have 78 incidents over the course of the year. It's serving an area about 6.79 square miles and a total population of almost 21,000. So there's quite a difference. This gives us some ideas about what's going on in each one of these areas. We have the drive times. We could overlay these with the service areas if we have them. We also have the number of incidents and the populations. So we could look into it a little bit further if we like. I'm going to zoom into this one here where we have a lot of them, and we're going to turn on our incidents. And we can see what incidents are going on here. But before I open up these incidents, there's one thing I'd like to do is I'd like to go in here and I'd like to configure the pop-up so we get some clarity information similar to what John did. Again, I'm going to select incident number for my title. So I give a little text there, and I'm going to pick off the list here is the value from that, from the field that we got from our CSV file. So that's going to be the incident number that comes out of my CAD system. And from the list, I'm going to leave the address on there, but I'm going to turn this other information off. The call code we don't need. The call type I'll leave on there. And similar to what John did, for the call time, we want to display this in both the date and time format. We're going to do that for the call time, the dispatch time, the time the first company arrived, and the time the event was cleared. We're going to leave the company name on there, their number, and we're going to leave the duration of the incident, the day of the week, the time range, but we're going to turn off the feature ID number. And save that. Now as we kind of look around here to see what's going on, we can kind of click on some of these incidents to see what's going on. We see that we have a medical call, and now we can see the time displayed when the call came in, when it was dispatched, when the first crew arrived, and when the clear time was. We also get with information about them, other information about it. We can select on some other incidents here and see what other kind of things that are going on in this little cluster here. Zoom into them if we like. Lots of medical calls, as you would expect. Okay, so that gives us some idea. Now, the one thing you may have looked and you may have noticed as we did this incidents here, we brought in all these incidents, is this was all the incidents that was reported through CAD system in 2013. But we might want to do is say, well, yeah, but which ones of those are fires? Is there a way we can do that? I happen to have some data in here that I'm going to add in. And I'm going to just scroll down to the list here and add this fire data. And it's basically the same files you saw before. Turn off my incidents and a few other things. So you see it. Here's the incidents as before. But this time what we'll want to do is we're going to go down and create a filter. And I think John showed you this as well. But I'm going to create my filter on the call type. And in this case, I happen to have a call type in that CSV file called structure. And I'm going to add another one in here with call type. In this case, I'm going to call it multi-alarm because I happen to have a value in there with that listing in it. And I want to make sure that it will match any one of these. So I'm going to apply this filter, and now I get just the fires, multi-alarm structure fires. And I could go through that same process, but instead of all incidents, I could break it down by vehicles, by medical calls, fires, and so on. So this gives you an idea of what you can do with it. One more thing I'd like to show you is what could I do with these fire incidents? Well, I might want to take a look at how long did each one of these come into. And I'm going to go in here and select size. In this case, I'm going to select the field is the duration. Remember, that came across from our CSV file. As I apply this, now we can take a look in here and see how long were these duration of some of these incidents. And in this case, it's for fires only. And you can see some of them, they went anywhere from 33 minutes all the way up to an hour and a half. So some of these incidents, these multi-alarm fires may have taken quite long. So what I've shown you here is several ways you can take a simple CSV file that comes out of your dispatch system, bring it into ArcGIS Online, map it by address or by longitude and latitude if you happen to have that information. You can color code those incidents. You can create drive times around your fire stations. You can summarize which incidents are within each one of those drive times, get a count. And then I can actually go out and do some data enrichment with that to find out what else is going on. If it was medical calls, I might be interested in something like age of the population, the median age perhaps, within those drive times. There's a number of things that you can do in ArcGIS Online with this information once you have it in there. So that gives you a good idea of what you can do with some of the incidents, just bring it in from a simple CSV file. What I'd like to do now is turn it over to my colleague, Jen Huey, and she's going to tell you a little bit about what Esri offers in terms of services.
Great, thank you, Walt. So what I want to do here is we've had an opportunity to see a lot of technology and how Esri technology can be used in the fire service, but many of you might be sitting out there thinking, well, how do I get started with this? I'm fairly new or I don't have any technology at all. How does Esri provide any assistance for me to get some of this stuff implemented? So first thing I just want to talk about is that as part of our professional services offerings, Esri has these package offerings. And so what we're doing right now is working in developing those for the fire service. And so really the goals of these packages are to assist our customers with implementing the ArcGIS platform. So all of the technology that you've seen today, how do you get that implemented within your organization? We want to find these repeatable information products and services. So you've seen some of these today. What do we really mean by an information product? Is it just a map with some data and information that fills a need within the organization, or it could be a map that services the public. Just some basic information products, and then services, things like my stations, my boundaries, my calls for service, that kind of information. Then we want to be able to take all of this data and information and configure some applications that can utilize those information products and provide an end user interface to the people that need to use that within your department and within your organization, as well as within the constituents in your community. And then the last thing that the goal of these service packages is, Walt's been showing you some of the solution side. So Esri works on creating these solution templates. So we want to be able to leverage those templates where we can in these service packages to help you implement. So what I've just gone, and I'm just going to go through a few examples. We've talked a lot about ArcGIS Online today. You've heard that term used quite frequently. Walt showed you as well as John. So what I want to talk about first is a package we have that helps you get started with ArcGIS Online. So we have this package available that will get you going on the administrative side, getting the organization set up, getting some groups, adding some users, that kind of thing. But then on the other side, we also provide services and information products and configurable applications as part of that package. So the first thing that you're seeing here is we've taken, so this is Wilson, North Carolina, this is their station information. We've just created a couple of very simple services through ArcGIS Online showing their stations, and then taken what we call a story map template. And so this story map template is just simply a web application. It's consuming this information product with those stations. And now I can deploy this, and you can see we've just got some basic information being displayed here about for each station. So things like here's station 5, here's the address, and then a photo. So these information products contain not only just some simple text information, but also have the ability to pull in some images and other files associated with it. So here's just a simple example of one of the information products that could be implemented as part of a package. The next thing that I'm going to take a look at here is we have a template. So in one of our solution templates, we have a hydrant inspections template. And so you can take your hydrant information and data using ArcGIS Online, enable it as a service, and then now your end users and inspectors can access this information and update it. Here we're using the web viewer, ArcGIS Online, to go in and to edit the data, or they could be doing this from a mobile client. So you saw John use his iPad earlier today. So there's an application out there so they could take this out in the field and do those updates. So here we've got, say, a crew's gone out and they have inspected this hydrant and it's no longer operable. So we'll just go ahead and switch that. You can change the date, so we can apply today's date to it as the last inspection. And then I'll go ahead and just close this. So now I have this real simple hydrant inspection data and viewer and applications. Well, what if I'm at the administration level and I'm interested in seeing how these inspections are going? So here we're looking at another application that is configurable within ArcGIS Online. This is called our Operations Dashboard. Here over on the left-hand side, we can see all the inoperable hydrants that are currently within the city. Here's that hydrant that I just updated within the viewer. So this data is all being stored in one location. Multiple clients and users can access this information in different ways using ArcGIS Online. And so if I click on an individual hydrant, you can see there's some additional information here. I could, click on it. I can also see, where that hydrant is located, when it was last inspected, and then here we're taking a look and we're just looking at a gauge that's showing the flow volume. So this application is completely configurable. So the end user can specify what information is relevant to them and how they want this particular application to look. The final information product example that I'll talk about are pre-plans. So fire departments, again, are collecting pre-plan information. This still resides in a lot of departments as a paper map. So once again, this is a template that Esri offers. And so what's included with the template, I'll show you in a second. But here you can see we've got a list of several different layers. So I've taken that template, made it available as services for people to be going out, not only viewing the information, but also being able to collect and update it. So I'm just going to go ahead and click Edit here. And what you can see now is a series of symbols. So these are all a symbol set that's included in the template. It also contains some attribute values that are part of the information model that sits behind the pre-planning template, all developed by members of the fire service. Here I've got just a basic plan that I've already gone ahead and added. So I can pull up some information. So we have a plan ID, we can see the address information, some of the construction for that particular building, as well as some contact information. But in addition to that, for first responders, we can begin to add some additional information. So I'm just going to turn off this first layer and just start to add some additional data. So here we have just, basic access points. So here we've got a known, or we know there's a double door here. And so again, I won't go in and fill in all this information, but you can tie in the plan ID. And then what's kind of important too is you can see when it was last updated and also enter in the editor. So you can keep track of when this information has gone into the data source and who was the person that last edited it or was the last editor. You can also choose a file. So what this is I showed you earlier in an example of pictures. So when you're going out and doing this pre-planning information, you can take photos and you can attach that as part of the features there. And again, I'm showing you this in a web browser editing environment. But as I mentioned earlier, all of this can be ported over. We have a mobile client that John showed earlier called Collector, and can be taken out on any smartphone device. So I just wanted to spend a couple of minutes just talking a little bit about what we offer to help you get started. So these information products that I've showed you are all part of ones that we're able to publish and implement, and these applications are all part of ArcGIS Online, so we can get you started with your organization account as well as get some of these implemented within your department. And so with that, I'm going to pass it back over to Jennifer Shockey, and she's going to wrap up with some concluding thoughts.
Super, thank you, Jen. Really appreciate that. I hope that everybody's had a chance to kind of get a sense of how powerful this platform can be. My colleagues have shown you a number of things, a lot of principles. We often talk to different departments at very different places in their development cycles or in their evolution of embracing this technology. So let me take just a minute to go back and review what you've seen from kind of John's demonstration of some capabilities that fire departments who are just getting started, have no data, can take this platform and begin to build a framework to collect some data and to start to configure applications to send people out in the field with something like the home inspections workflow. Secondly, Walt showed us some online capabilities out of the box, some more advanced, perhaps analytical capabilities where you can bring your incidents into a map framework and start doing some analysis online, kind of out of the box. And then moving forward, Jen showed you how those of you who have existing data can use these template solutions that we provided to begin to customize them for your environment, either using your own GIS resources or tapping into the expertise of our professional services team through these packages Jen mentioned, or working with a host of business partners we have that take these same principles and extend them to other solutions that fit the entire fire service mission. So thank you, John, Walt, and Jen. I hope that was helpful to everybody. And now what I'd like to do is open the floor up to some questions. If you have questions that have not been answered, or you have questions that you'd like to submit, feel free to go ahead and type them into the question framework right now. And while you're doing that, I'm going to advance the slide. We've got some resources that are available. This is my information. If you want to contact any of us, feel free to shoot me an email. You can get our information on the Esri website as well. And this next slide, which I'll leave up here for a few minutes for you to be able to capture this information, are 3 resources that we've put together to help you get started with some of the things that we've shown today. The Quick Start Guide is a guide for setting up ArcGIS Online. Many of you who have our products already have access to some of these licenses, and you can go ahead and get started. That guide walks you through how to do that. The Esri Fire Solutions website is a link to the templates that Jen was showing and some of the information models that John was showing earlier. And then the Esri Public Safety Industry website is a place that you can go for additional case studies, user studies, lots of resources there.
So let me open the mic up to the other presenters today and see if you've gotten questions or have other comments that you'd like to share with our audience.
Jen, this is Walt. If someone would like to pass the control over to me, I can go over some of those solutions that are available on our local government solutions site. Great. Yeah, while you guys are asking questions, I can just show you what's available here. The link that Jennifer had in her PowerPoint slide will take you to this location, the solution site for local government. In this case, we're into the fire service. This particular page has resources just for fire service. And so as you scroll down the list, if you haven't been here before, there's a number of solutions that you can download. Jenny, we talked about some of those. So there's producing wall maps, run books. These little links here indicate that there's a video. You can download the actual solution. You can click on this to learn more about how to implement it. You can look and see what we have available to you. My advice as you go through the list here, just kind of read them, look at the ones you might be interested in. If you click on learn more, for example, like the, let's scroll down the list. We have a new one in here for AED inventory, and I want to learn more about that one, so I'm just going to click on this link, and here is the help. It's all online help. It's well organized, so you can see what it's all about. It tells you what you get, what the requirements are, what's new, and how you download it, and it also gives you information on how you can get started. This one in particular is very similar to the one that John just showed you on home inspection, as it's now available, so you can download this and start locating where you have AEDs. Some other ones that are available are target hazard analysis, which we did a demonstration on that last month, I believe. There's some fire inspections, hydrant inspections as well. If you are into planning special events, this might be helpful, and just cleaning up address information. So there's a number of them. So there's some information here that will be useful to you. There are over here on the right side, you get some information about getting started with services. You get some updates from our blog post as we make changes to it, and then there's a forum if you wanted to send one of us information or questions about how to implement something. And then lastly, I'd like to mention that this page will get updated next month with two new solutions. The one that John showed you today, the home inspection solution, will be available on here, and you'll be able to download that one. And then one very similar to what I showed you in how to do incidents. And the problem that that one solves is, what if you want to do this every month? You want to import your incidents, you want to break them out by the type every month. You don't want to have to go through the process that I just went through. The solution that we are currently releasing, the one that will be released next month, allows you to automate that process by reading those CSV files in Task Scheduler, Windows Task Scheduler, on your schedule. So let's say every Monday morning at 7 o'clock, it brings in that CSV file, pushes it into your ArcGIS Online account, and then sets it up for your analysis. So it automates that entire process for you. So look for that one. That will be updated in the solution site as well. So hopefully that gives you some ideas about what's available to you, and I think this will be a very good resource for you in the future as you kind of bookmark this and keep an eye on what changes are happening here.
Great, thanks, Walt. So let me ask the other panelists, are there questions that that you want to bring forward to the audience? Okay. Very good.
Actually, I'm answering a couple of questions on the side, and some of those have to do with, can we use polygons or other features in these maps? What we've shown today is a lot of point data. Walt showed the incident point data, and I was showing point collection data with the home inspections. But Walt also showed some polygons with his drive times. So any point, line, or polygon is either creatable or editable throughout the platform, whether that be on a web map or even on the collector app. So if you were doing a boundary or a perimeter, you can use a collector app and you can walk that perimeter. As you're walking, the polygon gets drawn as it tracks your location. So yes, you can use points, lines, and polygons throughout any of these products you've seen today.
Great, thank you, John. And we have a couple of more minutes here, and so let me read a couple of questions that have come in while you've been answering those. From Rob in California, we have a question. We have a lot of incident data, but we're wondering about a good source for demographic data for analysis purposes. I'm very impressed with the richness of the data available directly through Esri, as demonstrated by Walt. Thank you for demonstrating that. So in terms of the demographic data, I think, Jen, can I pass this one off to you?
Yeah, sure. So Esri has a set of demographers, and so we take the census data and information, and we put together demographic services that are part of the ArcGIS Online offering. So if you subscribe to or have a subscription to ArcGIS Online, you have access to those demographic services. In addition to that, we also have market and more consumer data information that's available in some other products that we have. Community analyst and our business analyst products. So yes, Esri has a rich set of demographic data, and also in addition to that, we've got some market information for more higher end analytics. And so that's all available as part of the content with ArcGIS Online.
Great, thank you, Jen. And one more from James. If the intent is to provide information to the public, what would the pricing model look like? For example, insurance agents asking about closest station, hydrant, etc. And I will answer that by saying the public information maps, once you have the ArcGIS Online organization set up for your organization, there's no additional cost to publish that information out to an external audience, whether that's your constituency in the department or a particular group like insurance agents. You can publish that data out to the public. So, clarification from any of the other panelists on that or other information? Okay, so one more question and then we'll wrap up. How about downloading GPS positioning from Garmin or other devices so the data can be recorded direct to the product?
Yeah, I can speak to that. We have that exact workflow, which wasn't developed in Fire, but I used it for search and rescue, where you can bring the GPX files locally onto the machine and then pull those into the desktop product. Also note that the collector app is GPS enabled, so information can be gathered there on the collector app, which is point specific, but you can bring GPX data into the ArcMap product.
Super, thank you, John. All right, well with that, I think our time's about up, and I want to thank everybody for joining us for today's webcast, and we look forward to, well, this will be recorded and available online, and so thank you for your attention, and have a great day.